Co-host of Metabolic Health Summit, here with two incredible people in our space, some of my faves, Dorian, Gemma of KetoMojo, the founders. Thank you guys so much for jumping on today and for your continued support of Metabolic Health Summit.
It is our absolute pleasure. You know, you're one of our favorites too.
Oh, good. No, you guys have been doing, just from the very beginning, leading with passion. And I think that's why we've always gravitated towards one another, is because I can remember, I think literally meeting Dorian, you were by yourself at a booth at an event. I'm drawing a blank on the event at the moment, but I think it was 2017, right when you guys had started. And I want to say like the week or two prior, you had just lost your home in a fire, in those nasty fires that hit Napa Valley.
Yeah.
And you were so motivated, so passionate, like, I'm going to change this space. Like, this is what I'm making.
I'm going to change the world.
I'm going to change it. I was like, who is this guy? He's amazing. And so this started from like a really personal place for you both. And I could tell from the beginning that, okay, these guys are really going to disrupt the space. So if you want to share a little bit about how it started for you both.
For me, it started back in, both of us back in 2015. I was 47 pounds heavier. I was on antidepressants. A friend of mine said, you got to give up the white devils and cast them out of your life. And I'm like, what do you want about? And he tells me about a ketogenic diet. And I don't do fad diets. I'd seen Gemma, you've probably done every.
Well, no, I think I've lost probably 500 pounds in my lifestyle, up and down and up and down. And I was a product of the dietary guidlines. I loved carbs. So I was a carb addict. Definitely.
Baking fresh bread.
Oh yeah, bread.
Recovering as well. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I started reading up on the science, and I started testing with another meter at that time. And it was, my weight came off, and I came off of all antidepressants, and I got that joie de vivre that, I felt like I was 24 again.
Which I loved.
Right.
There you go.
Benefits for both. Yes.
And it was a game changer. And then I'm like taking apart a strip, and I'm like, why is this strip $4? And back then you were hunting in the back parts of eBay and Amazon to try and get cheap strips, and you couldn't. Yeah. And that was the genesis for the company.
And it was such a dramatic change. I could see it in Dorian, and I had breast cancer. I have autoimmune. There's so much. And then all of a sudden you're one day like, wait a minute, this is easy. This is working. Why isn't everyone doing it? And that's the kind of drive behind it.
So basically, we kind of used our entire home equity line of credit to found the company. And the goal was test 3 times a day for less than the cost of a latte. How could we make it affordable? We launched in 2017, and about 45 days after the launch, we lost our house in the fires. And at that stage, the American ketogenic community was so supportive of us. We were growing like wildfire, I guess, is the best way you could.
And actually, it's you can look at the bright side of it is it took away everything except really what was important. We had our friends, we had our family, our lives together, but then it really focused us in. I honestly don't think we would have been as successful had it not happened, because it took everything away and it showed us what was really most important.
But fast forward, we're now in 31 countries, and the difference that we are having in people's metabolic lives and their personal lives is profound. And that, to me, is finally, we are seeing the groundswell come on up of using metabolic therapies for the benefit of humans.
And, and I think that's the beauty of this conference, is it connects the dots, right? How do we reach more people? How do we show that it impacts so many disease states in a positive way, the ketogenic lifestyle? So, and that's our drive right now, both as a couple and as a company. How do we reach more people? How do we help more people improve their metabolic health and become aware of all the science that backs it up, which is there?
Yeah,
totally.
And you can kind of you consider on the journey, once you lose everything that your possessions in your life. And for some of the guys out there, I don't recommend having a house fire, but at least I didn't have to do one journey to the dump or to do the garage sale or anything like that. So you can certainly look at the positives. But then you kind of like focus in on what is your lives about. And for Gemma and I, we don't have children. So the difference is, are we going to make a buck or are we going to make a difference? So we now have our own foundation, which is the Ketogenic Foundation. It's a 501c3 public charity, and where we help to fund clinical trials and studies and education into the efficacy and use of ketogenic therapies for the benefit of humankind. And so this is how we see ourselves moving forward, is you need agents for metabolic change, because there's not the magic pill. There is not a big pharma company out there that's going to try and drive this. And that'll be the challenge for us as a community to grow if there is not monetary funding coming in.
And, also on that note, KetoMojo is participating in a lot of clinical trials and providing meters and strips. And what's amazing is it's in different disease states. We're mental health, PTSD, brain cancer, and it's just diabetes, obviously. But there's just so many different applications, and the science is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, COVID was a bit of a setback, I think, for a lot for the medical community. Over the last 2 years, they could not do the in-person inductions, the people coming on to clinical trials. And so for what was a shame is we saw a lull come into the science a little bit, and also to the vocal aspect of doctors and clinicians being able to get together. And it's so wonderful with your summit coming back on, is where, the tribes get them back together. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's such an important piece to have that. And now we're seeing the conversation come through to greater metabolic health. I mean, the data set in COVID with the comorbidities, why has America the highest morbidity rate when it has some of the best hospitals in the world? Yeah. And it is because of the comorbidities. And we need to get back to that conversation, because it doesn't end at the end when COVID becomes endemic. It continues forward. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be like, I survived COVID. I want to travel. I want to eat the world. But that chicken's going to come home to roost.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. You guys are making a great point. And it's really exciting to see how there's so many silver linings that have, in fact, you're able to look at the positive of what came out of that fire and how you've turned that fire into a, just passion that's helped so many people and making it so much more accessible. I think it's really encouraged this whole movement and helped to elevate it. And now you guys have, just taken that and now elevating the science and giving back to it. I think that's such a critical piece that, not a whole lot of brands are a part of in supporting the science that's actually, fueling the movement. I think that's a key piece. And obviously all of us coming together in our own individual ways is what needs to happen in order to further this whole thing forward, right? So there's a lot of silver linings, and metabolic health is certainly coming into the picture in a much bigger way, especially now as we've walked through this crazy pandemic for the last 2 years. It's obvious we need to start to empower ourselves to make a change, to continue to strive for optimal health. So that kind of brings me to a question around lifestyle versus diet, because so many of us live and breathe this, that I think we forget that, the ketogenic diet is seen as sort of this, like, still in some ways, I think it's changing, but is still kind of seen as this, like, oh, hey, this is something I'll do temporarily. But to many of us, it's like, no, there's actually can be a life full of enjoyment and fulfillment within this ketogenic way. So if you, in your own words, could explain the importance of that difference.
Well, I can speak to it. Again, I've been on every single diet on the planet, the cabbage soup diet, and actually when I was younger, the most successful was Atkins. But, I was a kid in high school and I didn't want to get my French fries and stuff. So what I would say is that we talk to so many practitioners who believe in the science, but their patients look at it as a diet. And that, again, okay, I've reversed my diabetes. Now I'm going to go back to the way I was. If you do that, you stop it and it doesn't move forward. You have to think of it as a full lifestyle, not a hard-boiled egg and a piece of bacon. It's amazing. we eat so well. We live in the Napa Valley. I'm a sommelier. I drink wine. We eat well. And that's what you have to let people know is it's a lifestyle change and it's easy.
We've had the obviously now being in 31 countries, we've had the blessings to be able to travel to a lot of different countries for business. And, we're always in a state of nutritional ketosis. We always find a way, even if language barriers can be difficult, there is always a way.
And you've dined with us when we're in Austin, actually.
Oh, yes.
So that's our goal, is to find, and we haven't had a problem in any country you've been in.
And it's not that we try and do anything at half measures when we go out. We want to live a vibrant, enjoyable lifestyle. And let's just be clear, if you're looking at a bowl of pasta, all the flavors is in the sauce and the proteins that is there.
All about the fat.
Exactly. And so if you think about flavor profiles and enjoyability, the proteins and the fats is where the game really does get played, and beautiful, vibrant, above ground veggies.
Yeah. And that's why, on our website, we really concentrate on recipes and showing people that, it's easy. You can make amazing food.
So we have our own chef based in San Francisco, and they create new recipes all the time. We have over 220 recipes on our website, which you can download, scale them up, scale them down. We also just introduced this last week, meal planning. So you can create your own meal plan.
And we have a registered dietitian on staff to, advise us and make sure we're on the
right. The interesting thing is, for us, it's, prevention is more important. Once we get to the stage where we talk about at your conference about metabolic damage and how to reverse that, we need to prevent people from getting to that stage.
We want to reach people when they're younger and healthy, not when they're like us.
Right.
So the cool,
yes, you guys are young and vibrant. Are you kidding me? And people need to look at your profiles online, because you're talking about like how you make keto of everything, and truly you make everything look. You guys find the best restaurants and keto-fy. I mean, anything. It's really
it's so much easier than people think, and that's the problem.
And
the good thing.
And for us, that prevention piece is the most important. Look, it's really weird, because this is not a good business strategy. We don't actually want people to be using our meter. We want them to be ketogenic and having a great time in life. And like that, we had nearly over 3 million unique visitors to our website last year. And that to us is great. And that's why we have so many free tools for people to use to change their lives.
Yeah. People have to know how foods affect them before they can move forward. So that's obviously the impetus of what we do. But once you learn, then you learn. I mean, I still test because we like to see how different foods affect us. But for a normal person, you test, and then you find your.
It's what we call a map and compass model. If you go to some new country and you're going into some, I don't know, village in Italy, you might need a map and compass to guide you there. Right. But if you then a few days later leave the same spot to go to the same place, do you need a map and compass? Do we need a map and compass to get to work? No, because we've learned the route. We learn ourselves. Right. And it's only when you try somewhere new that you can bring that map and compass in. And the map is the roadmap of foods, the areas, the geographical regions, and the compass is, to our extent, is our glucose and ketone meter to know if you're going in the right direction or wrong for you and your bioindividuality. And everybody's journey is different. What is needed for one disease state is going to be very different to another. And so for some people, you'll hear ketones don't matter, and I'm 100% with them. Chase, Louis Vilsendor loves to say, don't go chasing ketones, chase results. Yeah, great. Maybe for weight loss, but maybe different for mental health, maybe different for epilepsy, maybe different for a cancer treatment. And I think that in the world of social media, we kind of have to understand the lens of others.
Yeah. And, also someone said to me, well, what if I test and I find my favorite thing to eat is raising my glucose and kicking my ketones out of whack? I said, then you're empowered. You like that thing, you want it, then you are making that decision to do it. But don't kid yourself that it's going to be okay if I eat a donut. It's fine if I have a Mars bar.
If it fits your macros.
Right.
But see how it affects you. And that's the key to bioindividuality, to, living your life according to what works for you.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's, glucose and ketone testing. I remember when I first started the diet, that was such a shift in realizing how foods are actually affecting you, because you can kind of just make assumptions up until that point. But this is like you were saying, this is the compass that helps you get to where you want to go. So 1,000% with anybody transitioning onto a ketogenic diet, you've really got to understand, what are your numbers looking like? Because everybody's so different. And like what you were saying, Dorian, whether it be, especially when you're using a ketogenic diet as a metabolic based therapy, even more important to make sure you're getting obviously into that sort of therapeutic zone, which, I know you guys are big fans and have done a lot with the GKI index. And that's critical in being able to move forward in a really impactful way, both for yourself and just in general. So you guys have recently kind of shifted gears to focusing a little bit more on the healthcare practitioner, which I think is really exciting, because I think empowering the healthcare practitioner through some of the really exciting things you guys have, I don't know how I feel like you must not sleep, because you guys have got so many cool things coming out of the woodwork. But yeah, talk a little bit about that shift in focus for you guys as a team at KetoMojo.
So, goal number one was lower the cost. And for that, we were able to overnight reduce the cost of testing by about 80%. And then we launched our second generation meter, GK Plus in the United States. And we're again going to be able to lower the cost by a further 20%. So we kind of achieved that. And what we did is we built connectivity into the meter, and then we built out an app in which somebody could just download their data and see their data personally. So we were able to use that. And then what we've done is taken the funds from that and try to apply it into the medical world. So the next logical step was to build a secure, HIPAA compliant, encrypted health cloud. And that health cloud can now connect in to different apps like Chronometer and Carb Manager, LifeOmic and NutriSense, Apple Health Kit. So now we can link into other apps so people can see their data represented there. More importantly, we built it so that it can link into different electronic health record systems that hospitals. And just last week, we were proud to announce that we have connected into Epic. And Epic is the leading electronic health record system, I think, globally. I mean, there's 70% of the hospitals in the United States use Epic, and we can now connect in that data utilizing what we call our MyMojo Health platform.
And really the whole impetus was our feedback from practitioners was, we love the science, we recommend, the ketogenic lifestyle, but it's the compliance issue. It's are people following it? Yeah, they say they are, but who knows? They write down on a piece of paper what they ate, so this is the immediate real-time data solution.
If you look at some of the recent papers that have come on out on continuous remote care, this is where a metabolic intervention needs to happen. Current medical systems are based on episodic. Here, go do this, come see me in 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. Yet, if you are trying to change somebody both physiologically and psychologically,
and that's a big piece,
you have to be able in real time to see what is going on and in real time to intervene in the right way. So for those who are doing it right, you should be able to send a message to them saying, well done, you've got it. For those people who might be being successful and they need to de-prescribe, you need to be able to get those very quickly on a daily basis to that. And those who are struggling, you need to be able to look at that so that a clinician can utilize their limited resources in which to help those who are struggling along the way.
Yeah.
If you think just in type 1 disease state, type 2 diabetes, I think that's 11 or 12% of the population right now. Then you've got the pre-diabetic ones. There's probably about anywhere in the regions of 30 to 40 million people just in that area. We don't have enough dietitians and RDs to be able to deal with that with the current standard of care. You have to be able to scale to affect that metabolic change. And MyMojo Health has been designed to actually do that. And rather than have some Fortune 500 company or well-funded VC company try and take that, we created this and we're giving it away for free to any clinician, researcher, coach. Yeah, and we already have quite a few clinical trials that are already utilizing it. We have many hospitals and doctors that are linking on into that data, and to put the power of that tool into their hands.
And that's the exciting part, is to see it working and see the results, and seeing it kind of just, catapult clinics, doing a lot of practitioners doing programs where they're actually training other practitioners. And that's, I think, also a big part of it is showing people.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. The way. And this is also really inspiring to the patient too, to be able to share in real time with their healthcare provider what's happening. I mean, on that front as well, the fact that you guys are also making this available for free just goes to show just the kind of human beings and the passion that you have. And really is, as a company, you genuinely want to affect big change in this space. And that in order to make metabolic-based therapies something that, hopefully one day the masses, or upon diagnosis of many different conditions that are showing promise with the research, we're going to be talking about food, because we have the tools like KetoMojo, MyMojo Health to be able to help people along the way, which is huge. Can you guys show us a little glimpse of what MyMojo Health looks like?
Yeah, I'll to see if I can do a quick share screen. You might need to. All right. So basically, the MyMojo Health platform provides real-time data for improved patient monitoring of compliance for metabolic health. And so essentially what we have here is a practitioner dashboard. You can have your clinic in that position number one, and you can have multiple clinics, or you can have multiple different clinical trials, or you can have multiple different intakes, depending on, sometimes we see some coaches working in a monthly group and they keep all of that group together. For a clinical trial, they might want to blind that data so nobody else can see it. So we've created it from it to be blind. And then in the position number two, you can kind of like say, I can look at it 7 days, 28 days, 12 weeks, 12 months, and choose that, or your own date ranges. And then in position number three here, you can see all of your users, and you can see their last readings and types like that. So now you can actually search by a classification in that way. Like today, I want to see everybody who's not in ketosis. All right, now we know through our clinician group that we can send a message to them quite easily. Right. You can customize per patient the time in range that you want to use. So what I'm saying is, if we look at the American Diabetic Association, what they consider what is a normal blood glucose is very different to what a metabolic doctor will think is what we regard as what is a good normal glucose. Personally for myself, I want to be anywhere between 70 to 110 milligrams per deciliter. But I think that, the ADA uses up to 140, 180, which is absolutely scary in that respect. So you have the ability to choose your users, and then you can do a quick action to say, I'd like to send an email today to everyone who's not in nutritional ketosis to have an appointment with my dietitian or coach. Boom. Now you've just sent that out maybe to 50, 100 people, and through like a simple calendar link or whatever appointment service that you're using at your practice, they can now remotely create an appointment remotely via Zoom or another protected HIPAA compliant platform in which that they can have a contact, say, what's going on.
So it's addressed immediately. It's not like, 2 months later, hey, what happened way back then? So,
right, when the patient in person has moved on.
And that's been the key, I think, is being able to address something right at the moment that it's happening and say, what happened at 3 o'clock yesterday? What was going on?
Right. That real time is probably critical for compliance and keeping people to stick to it.
Exactly. It's something that's subtle, but it's very impactful.
But it also the feeling, the ability to give encouragement. Like we should be able to go to say 200, 300 people and say, way to go. Great glucose control today. Great ketone control. Keep up what you're doing. We love to see that. Then you're empowering that individual to carry on with what they're doing.
And that in the beginning especially is so important, because as we know, as we've talked about, that psychological factor. I mean, it was debilitating when I wasn't in ketosis, it wasn't working, but then I saw it did work, and it was just, it's addictive.
Oh, yeah. Totally. 100%.
And then the practitioner has the ability to drill down into each individual user if they kind of like need to say what is going on with that person. And we can tag things. We can tag them as like, are they on medications? Is pre-meal, post-meal? Is this before radiation therapy? What is going on? And eventually we'll also bring in for mental health the ability to tag your mood at the same time, so that you can bring all of that data
through. And that's
through.
something interesting that we're hearing from practitioners is, what would you like? And we heard from Georgia E. that she would love a tag that showed a mood at a certain point. And different people are coming back to us, can you do this? And that's what's exciting, is we're able to have an iterative process where we get feedback and create tags that work for the practitioner, for the patient, to really drill down into that particular patient's.
And we've given multiple ways to look at the data. The way that one practitioner is going to look at it might be different to a way that another one. So we said, like, here's the data, and you can slice it any way you really like. You can see glucose versus ketones. You'll be able to see glucose versus GKI, or ketones versus GKI. And I think last week, yes, we also brought in from Apple Health Kit. If you are either tracking your macros in Apple Health, or say Chronometer, you're pushing your data to Apple Health, or Carb Manager pushing your data to Apple Health, that data can now be brought on into MyMojo Health as well.
So you can look at your fats and your carbohydrates and see how that is kind of coming into play.
It all ties in. Yeah, that's great. Where you have so many different data points, and what you just mentioned about mood, having that sort of feature and information for metabolic psychiatry, that field is exploding right now.
That field is exploding. There's a conference today dealing just with that, which I find amazing. It's great.
Yeah. One of the interesting points is my chief technology officer, who's based in Switzerland, yesterday said, we're just going to recompile all of that because we're upgrading the service to bring in these new things. And we have over 20 million data points already.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
wow. So how do we want to organize that? Yeah.
But I my thoughts are then is like, well, imagine one day if we're able to anonymize this data.
Right.
What can this help in metabolic interventions for, instead of having these dumbass epidemiological studies where we're going to try and take
tell us how you really feel, Dorian. Yeah.
But it's really terrible science, but it's the only science that was available up until this point. So yes, I can say dumbass, but it was what is available. But now you can track foods and macros with timestamps in real time, in relationship to somebody's ketones and glucose and their disease states. And this can then be a fundamental change in having evidence-based guidelines.
Bingo.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so that we have a massive amount of different things that's coming on in, and this is what we just call our what I call our MVP, our minimal viable product, which even in this state, there is no other system in the world that exists that can do what this can do. Yeah. And for the price point, which is very, very economical.
Right. $350. Yeah.
And our goal is that as we grow, as we work with more clinical trials and as we work with more practitioners, is they build that feedback to us of what they would like to see and what they would like to change.
Right.
And then we build out a roadmap, and so that we can bring it solidly to the future, because we need to bring the tools into the hands of the individual clinician and researcher. Yeah. It shouldn't just be a provision for a very rich company in which to hold that. And for us, because we built the platform, it doesn't matter if somebody's working in an EHR system, say in Cincinnati Children's Hospital or Johns Hopkins, they can see the ketone data there. Mm-hmm. They can see the ketone data in Elation Health or Athena or Validic or Epic or any of these EHR systems. But the challenge is there's 260 different EHR systems across the world.
goodness.
So this is the challenge that we see in the forward.
And they don't have to use the EHR system.
No.
They can just use MyMojo Health if they don't. Some choose not to connect to their EHR. They would rather have it kind of a
separate
thing. So there is that option too.
Yeah. And that communication piece that right now is just in email, but eventually we will build it out into a HIPAA compliant text messaging platform that's built into the app as well, so that you can have real-time communication with your clinician or group of clinicians at once, so that a group of clinicians can work with a group of people.
Yeah.
This will allow us to scale. It's interesting. Most people don't realize that my customer service team exists of two people, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And they deal with over 7,000 questions per month.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Their average response time during working hours is under 8 minutes. And their average resolution time to a person's question is under 7 minutes. So think about that. What if we could apply these amazing e-commerce tools that exist and bring that into a healthcare area? Because many of the questions that we get asked all the time are repetitive. This is how you change healthcare, by real-time, continuous remote care. Virta Health received a 74% compliance rate on their 2-year study. If you compare that to the compliance rates in epilepsy, they're between 35 and 45%.
So what was the difference?
What did Virta do that's different? And let me just tell you, you'll see 90% of what they're doing different based in our MyMojo Health system.
Yeah. And we're touching on that actually in the poster session, which Jess, our clinical educator and registered dietitian, is working on. So that'll be
you guys are our official host of our international scientific poster session.
Wow, that sounds so formal. We're
Yes,
the official host of the international.
Yes, it's very formal. It's honestly one of the most important pieces of Metabolic Health Summit, because it showcases unpublished research from around the world that's happening. It's like it's sort of the most, to me, inspiring piece.
It's one of the most robust I think the most robust, easy for me to say, robust poster sessions I've seen.
It's
it's thrilling. So we're excited to post that.
So I remember my first poster session. It was on the island of Jeju in South Korea. I think it was the 6th annual ketogenic symposium that we did at that time. And I was like, you see all these posters in a room, you're like, what's all this? And you go walk along and it's like, well, that's boring. And then, they get that evening when there's the cocktail reception, and you get to meet with the scientists, with the clinicians, and you get to a one-to-one conversation with them. I was like, this is the best thing. This is absolutely fantastic. So anybody who's looking to come to MHS, this is one of the key things that you can get to see.
You can speak to the clinician whose work it is. And I think that's such an opportunity that most of us don't get.
Yeah.
So, it's for me, a game changer in terms of conferences.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah. I appreciate your words about that. It's certainly like one of the most, like I mentioned, important pieces to it, and the collaborations that have come out of that. And I mean, how involved you guys have gotten in the research space. It's just been really exciting to see it grow. So we can't thank you guys enough for being a platinum partner for us, as well as supporting the scientific poster session. You guys are going to be kicking it off with some really great information. I can't wait to bring everybody back together again. So in the same room, it's going to be great. But sorry, go ahead, Dorian.
Yeah, and just we'll be doing live demos of the MyMojo Health platform.
As well as
testing. And if any of the, if any people are like, can't wait to see what's going on at MHS, they can actually go to the top left-hand corner of our website. You'll see MyMojo Health there. You can click on it and you can create a practitioner account. You just can send it in straight away. You can start using it as it is a free platform. You can test it out. You can learn how to utilize it. We have a fantastic onboarding team who are there for success to set them up on that one there. And so it's available right now.
Awesome. It's just on your website. Anybody can go too.
Anybody. You don't have
like a health optimizer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's been designed not only just for coaches, dietitians, and RDs, and to go up the entire curve in that respect. It is obviously a secure, HIPAA compliant, double encrypted health cloud. For any of you geeks out there, it uses OAuth 2.0 and REST APIs, and I've got no idea.
Like saying that because he sounds so smart.
Whoa, Dorian, I'm super impressed.
Right?
Awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, and obviously because it's not just limited to America, we have servers that are in Europe as well. And so any of the countries that we currently ship to, which is 31, it can be in any of those countries.
Soon Canada.
Soon Canada. Soon. Yeah, that's all Canada health stuff. And it's in 8 languages as well.
Oh my gosh. Wow. You guys are really just doing it all in terms of, crossing your T's, dotting your I's, just making sure everybody has access who needs it. And anybody can go to your website, check it out, whether you're a healthcare practitioner, a patient. So I have to ask though, because, you guys are constantly innovating over there. What is your hope and vision for the future of the field of metabolic health and where technology fits into that?
Ooh, that's
a big loaded question.
Okay. So on the MyMojo Health platform bit, as we sign up more doctors and clinicians and coaches, there will eventually be a place there where any person can come to say, I want to find a metabolic doctor. And to be able to search by geographic region, to be able to understand like that. And there will be a place for so it'll help both sides. It'll help bring business to the metabolic docs, but it'll also then obviously help the practitioners. And I think that to us is the next thing as we refine that platform.
Yeah.
I think personally for us, as we see trying to help the ketogenic community, my ultimate goal, the lofty goal is to change the farm bill. I do not understand why we are subsidizing obesity in America, and for the first time, Americans have less of a lifespan than they've ever had before, which I think is tragic for our age in society. I would like to see that get changed, but that can only change by good evidence-based clinical work. And it's going to be a whole long, hard slog to get there.
And also on a very simplistic but global level, it's not only America, obviously, it's reaching places that have massive obesity, diabetes rates. India, larger countries that don't have access to this sort of thing. So my lofty goal is to reach more people who need help. Metabolic help, and just putting it out, the technology out there, and also encouraging our partners, other companies to jump on this bandwagon. It shouldn't just be a husband and wife team. Larger companies have to start thinking globally and how do we help more people.
I'd love to give a shout out to Virta Health in San Francisco. Those guys have they've held the torch for the whole of our community, and we're very proud to actually make their meter for them in that respect. But they have led the vanguard, and doing that is very, very hard to do. To Doctors Finney and Sami Inkanen, the work that they're doing is incredible, because now we're seeing other bigger companies taking a look model and looking at that, saying, hold on, what is going on here? We need to look very closely at this. And I think that's the vanguard. That's the tip of the spear that has actually begun to change metabolic change, especially in the type 2 diabetes. And I hope that in the future that they will look at other disease states to make that difference. Because and I think that's where we're going to see some real fantastic change for the future.
The advances in the interoperability is what in the last 2 years, and COVID actually assisted with this. Unfortunately, that was the silver lining of COVID, is that the technologies and the interoperability of those technologies are advancing at such a rate that we are starting to see the change. And every clinician, every practice can start thinking about this as a model and utilizing it. And we just want to help that along.
We see other similar models to it, but they're always behind a paywall. And they're always for their own coaches and stuff like that. And I think I understand the business model of what somebody's trying to do there. And I get it, because it's very hard to do these things without having some form of income coming in.
Right.
we do want to have a little bit of an income.
Right. You do have to
want to
survive.
make some money.
Yeah.
Yes.
But had we concentrated on just making a buck, which would have been easy to do actually in the beginning, it would have been a much different company.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, we look at that and think, that's not what we would love that, but that's not what we want. We don't want to make a gazillion bucks. We want to educate and spread the science. And
the challenge of, I think, of modern business is to be an ethically responsible business. And that's a hard tightrope for any company to walk along, especially when they have to deal with investors and VC money. And that's the beauty of our business, is we set it out from the start that we would never have to deal with that.
Which was a little challenging in the beginning.
a very hard way to grow a business. And anybody who wishes to meet us at MHS and talk about it, I'll happily talk about it, because I might not always recommend it for every person.
Not always the best for marriage, but hello.
But the fact that you guys were able to do it that way, and then also during all kinds of times throughout, I'm sure, the course of your business, continue to keep ethics and your vision true, right, to helping the most people, to making this information and some of these features and technologies free for people, is huge, even in the face of how difficult I'm sure it was to get to the place where you are. I mean, you guys are...
And I just point out on that free, we've also built it in that you can manually put the data in.
Oh, wow.
So you don't even have to use our meter. You can be using somebody else's.
There you
But
go.
for us, it's how do you affect metabolic change? And we must stop putting the barriers in there. And we must stop tripping over ourselves. So I even see a little bit of infighting within our own community.
Yeah.
We have to be united with one voice as we move forward.
And, to your point, the ethics, the science, it's there. So it's not like we're creating a hype or marketing scheme. Right. We look to the science, and that's what drives us, is that the science is there. The ethical side of it is just a natural progression of the science.
But, it was when we showed one of our clinical trials that we're working with, and we showed them how in 2 clicks they could download all of the data for every person that they had in that clinical trial, and what had taken months of work before of painstakingly recording all of the information. Now that they can do that to them was like a game changer, because their resources can be spent somewhere else. And that's what we've done, is we built that tool that any company can or group can run a clinical trial. They can double blind it. They can have access to the data. They can see it in real time. But
that's also a really, really important point, is that it gives the clinician, the doctor, the practice, more time to affect more change with more patients. And I think that was a critical piece, impetus for this.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, that time, you never get that back, right? I just wish when I was doing, studies with the Epigenics Foundation that I had access to something like this, because I personally can feel when you're talking about writing all the data out and now going to 2 clicks, how game changing that is for somebody running a trial or whatnot. It's just, it's no surprise that you guys are involved in so much research going on right now. And Gemma, like what you were saying, like the research is there. We just have to come together, support it, elevate it, so we can further it along, which is
right.
And we are working on a next generation meter that should come on in. I mean, it's all of these things is based upon regulatory affair work, which is incredibly boring, and it's dealing with government.
So long.
Dealing with government bodies.
I can't imagine.
It is like that. But, our next goal is to have a meter that is the Internet of Things. Rather than having a phone in the middle, it should just go straight to the cloud, and the data should come back on in. And so that's our next goal. That's that we look on looking at hardware, because the hardware software interface is one of the hardest of things to master. There's nearly 9,000 different phones that are out there globally. And so to manage those different Bluetooth chipsets, it becomes our life is spent chasing the nines of, you think if you've got a population of, you've got a 0.001 failure rate, when you've got 100,000 or 1 million people utilizing a product, you got to keep chasing that 9 down, because you still might end up with having 100 people or 200 people unhappy with you. And I hate that. It's like, I'm trying, guys. I'm really
Oh my
trying.
gosh. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I think you guys have made, though, a lot of people very happy with how you've really changed, honestly, the whole field of metabolic health by being able to provide these resources and tools to make this accessible to everybody. And it's really exciting to hear about your vision for the future, because I have no doubt in my mind that you two are going to be taking it there because of what you've already done. So for anybody watching right now who wants to come and meet these fabulous people, you'll have to come out to Metabolic Health Summit. Go to metabolichealthsummit.com to find information for tickets. KetoMojo is going to be our international scientific poster session host, but Dorian will also be on a panel we're really excited to be kicking off this year, all about technology and its important role in the field of metabolic health. So you'll definitely want to check that out as well. Where can people find you guys? I know you have quite a few different spots, but what would you like to give people to find more information about what you guys have going on?
Easy, go to KetoMojo.com, top left-hand corner of the screen. You'll see My Mojo House. You can just click on that, and it's extremely self-explanatory from there. And you can
actually, and also we have a practitioner site within the website, which is focusing for practitioners, but anyone can go there, and it just gives a lot of the different tools, also patient resources, a whole section on how-to videos, articles, and different. We have a marketplace so people can find ketogenic friendly products. So we're really trying to.
And I'd just like to know on the marketplace, if you do click through, we don't take any money on that. That all goes to all any commissions go to our foundation. Then that helps fund clinical trials and studies. So,
that's great.
So, and again, all of it is free. We just try to put as many resources there for everyone to see. So KetoMojo.com is
the place to be. It's all the things. Awesome. And thank you guys so much for hopping on today. And for scientists watching, make sure you actually submit an abstract before March 18th, because we're still accepting for our scientific poster session. You won't want to miss that. And Dorian, Gemma, thank you so much it's always a pleasure chatting with you two. I so appreciate you taking the time.
Victoria, so excited to see you guys in person.
I know. Finally.
And thank you for all the work that's put in. It's just amazing what you guys are putting together, and it's so appreciated on our end. And we're thrilled to be a partner of yours.
Well, we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you so much for everything. And thank you all for watching. And we'll be sure to see everybody really soon. May is here before you know it. All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you soon.